Send your disbelief once again. Welcome back, everyone. This is your goddess Sarah Belly, bringing you once again back into the world of In Other Waters. Quickly, I just quick and grabbed another one of the molten skins before I headed back. Hope you all have been taking good care of yourself. Nels. And making sure to get plenty of water. Play a little bit of get a little bit of sun, a little bit of exercise. Just take good care of yourselves. Feel free to like, comment, and subscribe if you're enjoying the series. And share with a friend who you think might enjoy my commentary as well. Let's get right into it. Let's head back. Let's see what all they have to say, because I know they're going to have to say a lot. You're back. Yeah, I am. I'm down in medical. I disabled the quarantine. Why'd you do that? It's beautiful in here. No, 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 no. Okay. Is that your name? What did they say? I like it, despite the history. Listen, I don't know what you're thinking right now, but I wanted to say I trust you. I don't know what that you knew about arcology, about Bakhal's history on this planet. Even your own history. But I do know that you helped me, you protected me, you guided me. Been trying to. I don't know why you're in quarantine. I owe you for that, no matter where you came from. You didn't choose to be created like any of us, but this place is your home. You're made from pieces of this ocean, from pieces of its past at least. I'm learning to not to be afraid of the past. I'd be much worried about the presence. I'm not afraid of her either, of Minay, if that's her name now. I think she must have found something among those skeletons in the bloom, something truly alien. It changed her, it continues to change her, but perhaps it is what is needed. That is what is needed. Change. I found something I think you need to hear. I've been going through their ecology data, and it wasn't the only facility on this planet. And we know of 2 others, that's for sure. Is there more than that? There's been 2 other sites, 2 other Bacal facilities. We need to find them. Alright, so we got the one in the Bloom and the one in the Pillar Gardens. Bacal was up to something on this planet, something bigger than just AI research. I don't want to look away. I don't want to see what Bacal did here with my own eyes. I want to see what Bacal did here with my own eyes. Mark the site's coordinates on the dive map. We should be able to cut our way in. This is not just about Minay anymore. It's about Bacal. It's about what happened here. It's about your history and the weight it carries. I'm ready when you are. What on earth are you... What on earth are you doing? Disabling the quarantine, Hillary. Oh, oops. Gotta, place stuff in the samples. Another you mad fool. Slow Mason at taxonomy. And probably more slow Mason. Yep. Taxonomy. Myomatea. So, part of the spore catcher and bloom veins. Alright. Slow Masons are colorless polyps covered in waving cilia, which etch elaborate spirals into the facility they feed upon. These pale, formless creatures are solitary, but not exclusively so. Some accumulate together in groups, hugging against each other's mass. There appears no obvious chemical exchange or communication within these groups, but perhaps the patterns they form as they eat serve some social purpose? Their exteriors show frequent evidence of consumption by other species. With no obvious method of defense upon being threatened by pressure, the polyps recoil, but do not appear to possess the ability to flee rapidly nor fight back. Perhaps their sampling their secretions might help us understand the underlying patterns. Analysis of the patterns secreted by the slow mason suggests something close to rudimentary communication. There are repeated motifs created by multiple members of the species, unlikely to have emerged simply from their natural movement or feeding patterns. Due to their slow pace, it would take an extensive amount of time to determine and prove correlation between rhythmic alterations in the pattern and events faced by the polyps. Whether they represent warnings, a form of social engagement, or markers of potential nutrient sources remains unclear. But how these patterns are perceived by the other masons without any obvious eyes, they cannot see them, but perhaps like Braille, these secretions are read by touch alone. Analysis of the strange molted skin found in archaeology caves shows that it is clearly formed from the flesh of slow masons. So it's formed of the flesh. Within the tissue, the bodies of multiple polyps have knitted together over the span of decades, forming one large communal layer. It may have provided protection, or perhaps it is a birthing sac for some larger unknown form. Shed skin can represent evidence of renewal or transformation. Perhaps these polyps are not mature, but are larval stage of the species, with each member uniting to form a larger being. As of yet, I have found no trace of this matured form of masons, but the cave networks in the ocean's floor could hide many creatures that could easily evade discovery. Now let's see what these little guys look like. Ooh. Yeah, really a formless polyp. Seems corrosive secretions. It's just like a slug. Slow Mason pattern language. Digestive cilia. Very interesting. Species using a literally written communication source before they have words or anything crazy like that. I know you've been reading these. The access logs show someone has been in the file system of my terminal, and well, by process of elimination, it has to be you. I don't mind. In fact, I suppose I've been writing these entries for an imagined audience anyway. Confessions, or maybe just need to talk. We've made a strange trio now. Me, a depressed xenobiologist who can't keep their mouth shut, you, an AI built from the remains of a sentient species, and your sister, Minnie, who is now more plant than human. But as far as I can tell, we are the only ones on this planet who have any chance of finding out what happened here. I think I'm starting to understand why Minnie called me here, because she trusted me to not give up, not to let this go. Damn, only 2 more entries left. Alright. So should we go to the Pillar Gardens first, or... So should we go to the Bloom or the Pillar Gardens first? I don't want to do Pillar Gardens first. I know, I'm a goofy goober. Switching back and forth doing what I want, but I chose Bloom first last time, and it told me no. So let's cut our way in. Man, it's been a while since I've seen these species. I'm just getting snacks for the road. I am a hungry AI that likes to nom nom nom. Oh. Alright. Oh. Forgot I had to use propulsion. Damn, it's been a while since I've encountered that. This place is so safe, well, excluding the, current. And if current's the only thing of concern here, then... it's much safer than the other areas. Living colony. Behind the barrier, the throbbing interior of the colony is revealed, filled with throngs of zooids acting as one. Floating colony. I've never seen a colonial creature of this scale or complexity. Can it really be a single united creature, made of ever-shifting processes? Pulsing passage. The vague shape of the facility walls is preserved by the colony. The spaces between filled with shifting swarms of life. Zooid flow. Each zooid has a function within the colony. Their flow back and forth, evidence of some complex processes that is impossible to parse. Floating colony. The interior of this creature is like a golden bubble. The light trapped and refracted by hundreds of pearly orbs strung together. This would be absurdly cool. Oh, data recorder. Floating colony. This colony breaks the surface 20 meters above. It must be floating on the surface, its body descending in layers like a living iceberg. Radis colony. I'll call this colony Radis. It floats beautifully across the ocean like some impossible vessel. So this is actually actively floating. It is a huge floating, living structure. User K. Clark. Casey. The artificers are gardeners, not colonizers. They rewrite genetic code to develop mutualism, to foster life. Oh, so yeah, artificers are the reason why this world is held together the way it is. With so many mutualistic relationships between the different species. Room fragment. A fragment of a room eaten away into the strange sculpture hanging in the blue. It's hard to imagine what this place once was. User M. Thorfinn. MT. That is absurd, Kelvin. They're no difference from us, adapting their environment so they may survive. No, they are not us. So KC was saying that they are not us. So that was, yeah. Hey, Clark. Wall selections. From some angles, the zooid clogged walls of the facility line up, and I can imagine the past life this of this place with all the its human dramas. Creature is very clearly completely harmless to us. More gas bladders holding the remains of the lab in place, like pieces of a torn map, hinting at the history of the long ruined structure. Let's take a little sample. Oh. Alright, colony bladder. Gas-filled Zoid sample from my floating colony. That is a lot of oxygen. Colony opening. The ocean stretches east from here. A blue desert beneath 3 red suns. What might lie out here beyond the range of this suit? If it's anything like this insane structure, I can only imagine how crazy this world is. Zooids, worms. These zooids, these shoals of golden life look solid as I approach, but passage through, they are little more than flurries of petals. Ellery hasn't said anything about this structure. Gas bladders. This piece of the lab floats on gas-filled bladder zooids, keeping it buoyant. Some float in the open water, the perfect sample candidates. It's just more colony bladders. Floating currents. The hollow structure of this colony allows water to flow throughout its core, creating both bulbous corridors and open holes. Clear passage. Why would the colony preserve the rooms in the facility as it consumes them? What bizarre processes are in action here? But that is genuinely just like the sci-fi dream. This would be so absurdly cool. H. Roth, dive recorder. HR. Sam, he wants to free them. Essay. And what do the artificers want, Hannah? Has anyone asked them? S. Emerson. Essay. Constantine is too arrogant. Just because he discovered the artificers doesn't mean he can decide their fate. F. Vogt. Effie. We can't let this continue. We never intended this. The thing they're building. JS, I know. Fracture lab. Eating away on one side, the remains of this lab are like an open set and staging ground for the colony's process of sublimation. Central lab. The central laboratory is almost complete, apart from the large tree-like growths cutting through its walls. G. SAR. JS. GS. Constantine has already left for Site 2. If the facility fails and Site 3 is breached, the oceanic mind can be stopped. The oceanic mind can be stopped. Colony's heart. Dappled light fills the chamber, passing through its complex branching strands, orbited by swarms of zooids. This looks like a biologist's laboratory. It must have been the first exploratory base on the planet. They discovered the artificers. They started all of this. These were scientists like me, employed by Bakal to study this place. How did it end like this? The mines they were building in their ecology. The genetic research they were doing here. They were all working towards something bigger than just one lab. Were they trying to make a terraforming device using the artificers? How could they have let this happen, these biologists? Our first contact turned into a resource grab. Scan all you can, and let's leave this place. I'll review everything back at the base. I won't be long before the colony eats this place away, once and for all. Yeah, that is for sure. You came at just the right time. This thing's almost gone. Budding zooids. Tiny medusoids creatures are budding from the walls here, splitting off from luminous stems to join the flow. Tentacle corridor. These walls are flowing massive tentacles. Some have broken away and are floating freely in the water. We might be able to extract them. I'm gonna just consume these for a little caloric intake. Tentacle time. Colony tentacle. A zooid tentacle sampled from a floating colony. Colonial bridges. Between the ragged parts of the facility stretch looping bridges, pumping liquid back and forth from the heart of the colony. Webbed structure. Beneath the translucent webs of spherical growths, half-digested walls sit suspended, like an exploding room frozen in time. And then we're back to the entrance. And then we're done here. So we know that the biology lab came first. Or likely came first. They discovered the artificers. And then they wanted to do something crazy with it. Back up. I've been going over the data from the facility. I was right to assume that the facility was the first base on the planet, the start of all this. Okay, so we've just confirmed it with the data. The lead biologist, Constantine Hayes, found the artificers here more than 30 years ago. But what was truly incredible is what they discovered they could do. Genetic reprogramming, rewriting DNA, RNA and DNA, both in themselves and their local environment. Some Earth cephalopods could rewrite their RNA, but nothing, squids and octopus and stuff like nothing at this scale or detail. The artificers intended to do to this world, nudging its life into new arrangements. Not only that, but their exoskeletons, they were quantum computers. Silicon wafers of incredible complexity and purity, able to simulate the outcomes of their genetic rewriting. First off, don't quantum computers actually work best when made of aluminum, iron, more common metals than silicon? The artificers were housed in natural machines, ones that evolved here over millions of years. Their complexity far outstrips our own. We could have learned so much from them. But are there any left around? Bakal wanted artificers' abilities for themselves. Something happened. Why are there no artificers left? Why the collapse of these sites? We have to visit the other site. The answers are there, I know it. Why haven't we found a living artificer? Or maybe we have. I'm gonna keep these on me just because they make a good oxygen sources when we're going into the bloom. Radius colony. And then Radius colony. Oh. Taxonomy. Radius colony. The Radius colony is a huge colonial organism made of layers of zooids, all occupying different roles within its large and complex body. Closer to a living island or iceberg than a creature, the Radius is a free-floating structure which travels across the surface of Gliese, Ice's planet-spanning ocean. Trying to observe the patterns of Radius is a difficult task of counting tens of different zooid types, flowing in constant movement throughout its cavernous interior. We can assume they occupy the typical roles of a colonial organism: motility, defense, digestion, and reproduction. But a colony so vast, many other processes may be happening. Does Radius have any neural activity? And why does it cling to the remains of the Bakal lab? Sampling some different zooid types may help us understand more about the colony. Sampling the colony's gas bladders has helped me to analyze how Radius stays afloat. It seems that thousands of these bladders of different sizes both keep Radius at the surface and hold the fragments of the laboratory in place. These bladders, with their high oxygen content, can be inflated and deflated individually to respond to currents and move Radius across the ocean. This suggests that Radius has some way of orchestrating massive changes across its huge volume. In a sense, perhaps, Radius is better thought of as an individual with various specialized organs rather than a colony. Damn. It's hard to judge the actual size of the Radius colony, but that was bigger than a whale, wasn't it? In a sense, perhaps, Radius is pretty... Okay. And yet it shows no signs of a central intelligence. If I was to discover neural activity within Radius, I could even understand it? This creature is so alien to our way of understanding the world. Analyzing Radius's tentacles has shown they possess the ability to secrete metal-digesting substances. The conclusion is that these tentacles are consuming the lab pieces piece by piece, using it to fuel the colony's incredible growth. Perhaps Radius was once a tiny creature floating in a biologist's tank. When the facility was breached, Radius was gifted a near inexhaustible amount of metal to consume, and allowing it to grow to its vast size. One day it'll eat away the entire structure, its body carrying the shadow of this planet's first human settlement. Sometimes I wish that our marks on Earth could be erased so easily. But the only shadows in our ocean are those of thousands of extinct species that we will never regain. So yeah, Earth is dying. Earth is very much dying. Inflated membranes, colony approximately 7 meters in height. Gas bladders, zooid spawning chains, digestive tentacles, bladder zooid, medusa zooid, pearl carrier zooid. Damn, this would be absurdly cool to see. Especially since it seems harmless, completely harmless. Besides destroying every single piece of metal in its path. I guess it's time. We unfortunately are nearing the end of this amazing game. I've had so much fun, it's hard to just easily express. I should probably grab these. They're good resources. Nest workers. Especially this one. I'm guessing at the center of the bloom is going to be the artificers. They made this to stop humans, I'm betting. We did find there is a lot of artificer shells, or spheres here, which leads me further to believe that, albeit insane concept. After all, we've only found artificers heavily in this biome. And they have the ability to adjust the DNA and RNA of their local ecosystem. There's also that one more path down. Down in the facility, as well as the pipe as well. We'll have to investigate that before the end of this game. Collapsed chamber. Choked with rock and sand, the metal chamber is deadly still. The angular shapes of industrial machinery lie in wait. Oh, now this is an ugly green color. Melted pillars. Object. The pillars which stretch upwards up towards the cavernous roof of the chamber, warped and distorted, barely able to hold the weight. Rusting machinery. Hulking machines built for industrial use sit covered in a fine layer of sand and growth. This was a place where people worked. Rock piles. Half the rock ceiling above the chamber seems to have come down at once, burying most of the room. Central vent. Imagine this place was once a sealed tomb, stretching from floor to ceiling, but now it's just a round, ragged hole in the metal floor. Alright, let's head this way. Nope, nothing this way. Oh, look, that tank is filled with microbial growth. What was this place? Be careful, the water will be just as toxic as above the bloom. Clogged vent. This dark hole in the floor is spewing out the same microbial clumps as seen in the bloom above. They settle around the vent in layers. Is there anything further this way? Oh, this is also a route down. Should I go the bloom route first? No, I'll go the safe route first while I have more resources. Alright, shattered walls. Angular plates piled with sand are all that remains of the rooms and structures that divided this level of the facility. Derelict vehicle. The shell of some corroded maintenance vehicle is flooded with sand. Its top a garden of microbial growth. Crushed room. Whether it was a control room or storage shed, this room has been totally crushed by the facility's collapse. Let's start this way. Sealed containers, Bacall containers marked with now dull yellow biohazard tape. What were they shipping into this facility? This is no lab. This is an industrial facility. These containers must have carried some vital resource to its operation. Fuel, perhaps? I'm guessing the bloom was geoengineered by humans using the maybe artificers? I don't know. I'm coming up with so many theories and bloom froth. Breached wall. This side of the vast tank has been corroded away, melted by the incredibly dense volume of microbes inside. Caved in ceiling, huge volumes of rock must have smashed through the layers of the facility, burying it and its occupants. I'm gonna get out of there. Nope. Data recorder. Good thing I was thorough. MD. Sorry, sir. Dr. Hayes has just arrived from Site 1. FT. Send him through. Constantine has full clearance, so that's Constantine coming through. It looks like the way down is through this tunnel. Clogged tank. This shattered tank is dense with microbes. Thick green webs of growth stretch across the suit's visor, turning lamplight acid green. Tank breach. How did this towering metal container split apart so violently? An accident? Perhaps something more. Corroded walls. These tank walls were breached with explosive force. The remains corroding away over decades that followed that violent act. Alright, let's head this way first. Melted consoles. These banks of consoles must have controlled the operations within the tank. Now the tank's contents have turned them into scrap. So they were researching the bloom. Collapsed pipe. These pipes look to have been connected to the hull's tank. They must have controlled the outflow of whatever was produced here. I'm guessing the bloom. South tank. The tank stands in a huge hall. Its pipes leading off into the dark. This facility was not built to study this planet, but to change it. Oh. Are they terraforming here using the artificers? These are Ingram. Alright. Maintenance on the South Hall is continuing. Alright, I'm seeing some massive pressure spikes here. Alright, control. They got wrecked. Alright. Sampling. Bloom bubble. Thank you. Resources. Central archway. A tall passage between two halls of the facility. This place must have been impressive when it was in full operation. Leaning tank. The central tank has held back the sand and rock, but it leans unsettling forward into the hall. These pipes, these tanks, this facility was outputting huge volumes of something into the planet's atmosphere. This must have been a geoengineering project? A way of changing Gliese? But looking at this place, it suffered a total collapse. What went wrong? North tank. A fully sealed tank rises up through the center of the hall, and its sheer side streaked with growth from the southern tank. Sliced umbilical. The connection between the console and the tank was sliced clean through. What stopped it from breaching? Sand drifts. The rising wall of sand leans heavily against the tank, burying tons of equipment and who knows what else beneath the slopes. Looks like a person, being one of them. These are L. Youngs. LY. Yes, sir. Atmospheric density is increasing ahead of schedule. Please inform the board. They will be pleased. Access hatch. That large access hatch And the floor above lies open. Its ladder corroded into a rusty spine. Alright, so we're gonna head back first, because that's another... There's a lot to explore here. This church thinks I thought I had already been. Clear passage. Between the overhanging tank and the buckled twisted hall is a clear corridor leads forward. Split containers. Crushed by the rockfalls, broken open containers reveal rich patches of microbial growth like miniature gardens. Yeah, they were releasing the bloom. Console bank. A row of corroded consoles wired up to an umbilical connection, which has been cut away. Overgrown suit. A sand-dusted chair props up the remains of a suit, the faceplate clouded with rich green growth. No comments on that one. Okay, hello. Gauge. Control. I'm slicing it before it cascades. Clear the reactor chamber. The bacterial overflow is about to hit. Yeah. Something went terribly wrong here. I think even saying terribly wrong might be an understatement. Can't remember. Could I go further down there? 1 second. Taking some oxygen loss, but I can live with that. Clogged tank. The vast tank is one of 2 that stretches the full height of the facility. Inside, the water's thick with microbial growth. Yep, you go further down. Corroded lamps. The gleaming and the green in these vast reflector lamps sit in the base of the tank. They must have lined the walls of the container, beaming in light. Dense growth. The oldest and largest microbial colonies lie here. Great translucent green bubbles made from millions upon millions of microbes. These lamps, the old growth, is this where the bloom began? So yeah, this was a terraforming project. This is no native microbe. This is a lab grown built to convert light into power and oxygen. A vast microbial fuel cell designed to thicken the atmosphere of this planet, no doubt. Make it habitable, I'm sure. But when it breached containment, I'm surprised anything still lives on this planet. Fog tank. The base of this tank is thick with growth. It must have been devastating. Yeah, definitely would agree with you there. The base of this tank is thick with growth. It's hard to see anything in this haze of green. I was right that it would be worthwhile coming down here. Yeah, a sizable chunk of my oxygen reserves. Bloom source. A huge colony sampled from Site 2 beneath the bloom. I'm surprised it's this intact with how corrosive the bloom has been deemed. I suppose it wasn't designed to actually handle the bloom. Access hatch. We're going up. Access hatch. Large dark opening leads down into the tank chambers. Control room. Rows of sand-choked desks, rusted consoles, and dim monitors. Just make it clear. This was the facility's control room, and I have hiccups again, of course. Eroded bones. Preserved by the low flow of water inside the control room. The smoothed out shapes of human bones are scattered across the floor. Here. This is where they controlled this place once. They were changing this planet, manipulating it. These vast tanks engineered microbes were their tools. They were trying to make a world habitable for humans to move to, it would seem. Algae changed the atmosphere of Earth billions of years ago. These creatures were meant to do the same. Yeah, algae really terraformed Earth. Like, it's insane. But by accident, or sabotage, this containment was breached. So the original plan was not these idiots. They could have killed every last species on this planet. Eaten up in a global bloom. Somehow the reef survived. Somehow the stalks held on. Tried to revert our mistake. So yeah, the artificers are almost certainly still alive. Humans don't deserve this planet. We didn't deserve to find life. I've seen enough. Scan what's left and take a look back at base. Let's find a way out of here. User C heist. No. CH. Oh god, the tank is breached. CH. The artificers. I didn't mean... CH. Dot. FTAR. FT. Constantine, what are you... Step away from the consoles. I'm sorry. Emergency hatch. The control room's evacuation hatch hangs open. Piles of rocks and sand all around. Control console. Despite the cave-in, this console is surprisingly pristine. A cup sitting beside one of the monitors where it was placed decades before. User B. Bedecho. BB. We are doing the artificers a favor. Despite all their abilities, they couldn't manifest this kind of planetary change. So were the artificers trying to terraform the planet first? It's just humanity got here and something happened between the two groups. Security seal. This is why no one escaped the facility. This tunnel is sealed. Control room's escape route is cut off. I need more power. Thankfully, I have bloom broth. There we go. That was a relatively serious security seal. Metal corridor. Sealed at both ends, this corridor is pristinely preserved. The Bacal deck house still visible on the gleaming walls. Security seal. The second seal locks off the corridor at the other end. They made sure no one would escape. Yeah. They wanted to silence everything. And if they had succeeded without the bloom getting out, this would have been a great world for humanity. Concealed tunnel. The tunnel leads out into a small shelf overlooking the rift, discreetly cut into the rock. Northern rift. Back in the open water, the current at the end of this rift softly pushes against the suit. Rift wall. Above the steep rift's wall meet the shelf of the bloom. Bloom shelf. To the north green clouds rise up, the familiar sight of the bloom that surrounds the shelf in the facility below. Sheltered waters. Behind the pillars of the reef's strong currents are lessened, making it a small sheltered stretch of water this side of the rift. And we're back out. There's a lot more we need to explore within the bloom. But for now, let's finish off this conversation here. Because I know Hillary's going to say a fair bit, so I won't make it a cliffhanger this time. Online again? Good. We have a lot to talk about. You're an observation. I've been digging through what we discovered at the facility. What they did there, it's terrible. They could have wiped out life on this planet. Bakal should have known better than to mess with the entire planet ecosystem. Fair, but humanity's dying. The failure of the facility was catastrophic. The bloom dominated half the planet. As far as I can tell, it wiped out the artificers. I think about those skeletons of the bloom. The rest of the planetary ecosystem reacted somehow, resisted, pushed the bloom back. Yeah, I don't think the artificers got wiped out. I think they hid. Based on what we found in Site 1, the artificers must have had a role in this. Their final act? I don't think it was their final act. An attempt to prepare this world for the catastrophic Bakal unleashed. They died for this planet. And you are all that survives of them. Well, perhaps not all. I keep seeing the same thing mentioned in the data, the same term appearing in fragments. The oceanic mind. Yeah, I think there's a giant artificer down there. As far as Bakal were concerned, we were just the beginning, the first mind. The artificers were the key, inscrutable creatures with a quiet power. Able to simulate, predict, and then able to change. They could rewrite life itself. For Bakal, the opportunity this provided was clear. Yeah, I would love to get my paws on an artificer. Well, the artificers were like gardeners, caretakers of this world, but Bakal imagined something else. The oceanic mind, providing total control of the ecosystem, able to enact their will. To be fair, that would make a world that would never die. This world's got 3 red stars. It would last forever. That's what they were building when the colony collapsed, and it's still out there. In the deep, powered by the heat of geothermal vents, the oceanic mind sleeps. I want to see it for myself. We have to know how this all ended. I've marked the approximate position on the map. Way to the north, deep in the abyss. Let me know when you are ready to see this through. I'm definitely not ready to see this through. Damn. I think next episode might end up being our last. So for now, feel free to like, comment, and subscribe if you enjoyed, and take good care of yourselves. Feel free to share to a good friend if you think they'll enjoy my content as well. See you when I see you. Bye!